A horrific bombing campaign. And it started on this day in 1999.
Today, our armed forces joined our NATO allies in airstrikes against Serbian forces.
Support for NATO's illegal war on Serbia was almost unanimous among U.S. politicians.
I have supported the NATO bombings.
What advice would you give President Clinton this very morning?
Just don't lose your resolve.
Not to say there wasn't any criticism.
And the most obscene chapter in recent American history is the conduct of the Kosovo conflict when the President of the United States refused to prepare for ground operations.
How obscene. America not sending in ground troops right away. What, to occupy all of Serbia?
We should go to Belgrade and we should have a Japanese, German-style occupation of that country, and we should have public trials.
Does anyone even remember any of this? Serbia, when the bombing started. I was 10 years old and I remember the air raid sirens. To me, this came out of the blue. But the stage for this was set before NATO's bombing started. Throughout the 1990s, American politicians and media outlets were bent on waging war against the Serbs in the Balkans.
I was suggesting we bomb Belgrade. I was suggesting that we send American pilots in and blow up all the bridges on the Drina.
When NATO first bombed the Serbs in Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1995, Time magazine said the massive bombing attack opened the door to peace. But in 1999, the excuse was Kosovo, Serbia's southern province in which the so-called KLA, or Kosovo Liberation Army, conducted terrorist attacks on Serb civilians and security forces with the aim of Kosovo seceding from Serbia. Under the pretext that Serbia was using excessive force in their counterinsurgency operations, the US sided with the Albanian KLA rebels.
Our goals at the beginning were to rid Kosovo of Serbs.
And rid they did. Following the bombing campaign, over 160,000 Serbs, or 75% of them, fled Kosovo. But that still wasn't enough. So in 2008, much of the West recognized Kosovo as an independent country, in violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1244 and Serbia's territorial integrity and sovereignty. America's pledge to militarily intervene in the Balkans went beyond Serbia's borders.
I will continue with every fiber in my being to keep America involved with troops that can shoot and kill to protect the rights of the Albanians wherever they reside in the Balkans.
Many warned NATO's bombing would set a dangerous precedent. But for me, as a 10-year-old kid, just watching Serbian television was scary enough.
22 NATO missiles fell on the village Bogutovac near Kraljevo. Deadly cargo was dropped on the residential part of the village.
We're striking hard at Serbia's machinery of repression while making a deliberate effort to minimize harm to innocent people.
On the hit list were local hospital and primary school.
In 78 days, 420,000 missiles, including depleted uranium bombs and banned cluster bombs, fell on Serbia. They fell on our infrastructure, factories, television stations, hospitals, schools, kindergartens, on innocent civilians. Nobody ever apologized to Serbia for the bombing. Nobody was tried nor punished for the bombing. You've probably forgotten about this, and most of us have moved on to more pressing topics. But I can't move on. I will always remember what NATO did to my country. And I don't think their war hawks can become peace doves without recognizing the harm they've done to millions in the past.